Hello and welcome to the table, Baldurs Gate, D&D, and Warhammer friends from the 40k, fantasy, and Total War communities. Have a seat, grab your favorite drink, and settle in for a unique follow-up character build to the previous Plague Surgeon of Nurgle build. This episode will cover all 12 levels of the Cannibal subclass of the Surgeon, and we'll be building a character known as the Butcher of Khorne around it. As always, credits to our mod author for this class, Gentleman Babu, for putting the time and effort in creating this mod and also providing unique features and spells. Now, since this is a follow-up video, to cut back on time, I will be going over the description only for the Cannibal subclass, and those of you who really want to tune into the full description of the Surgeon class, I do highly recommend checking out the previous video on the Nurgle Plague Surgeon. I don't really want to repeat myself for those returning viewers, but I'll leave that link to the video in the pinned comment below. Now, to quote the mod author, "Meat is on the menu. Engage in a combination system known as Feeding Frenzy, a buff system that requires the surgeon to make contact with their patient twice, unlocking a bite known as Feast on the Living. This bite scales with your player level, increasing damage and heal over the course of your campaign. As you level, you will unlock the ability to feast on the dead. Later on, even your own flesh will be up for bites, rewarding you with a massive damaging series of blows to inflict upon your foes. Grab your bone saws and prepare the table. It's time to satiate the endless hunger of yours." So something I love about the bite mechanic it's very much in line with what a typical cannibal is like. However, it's not just simply for roleplay purposes, but it has a lot of utility. I just love whenever themes and also useful mechanics really mesh together. Also, continuing to save time on the video, I don't want to go into insane detail on how I want to structure it. My returning viewers know the flow of how I go about these kinds of character builds. On the off chance new people do find this video, quick and simple way to go about it: the build will go in the order of first level choices, second to 12 level, and then wrapping up with gear and equipment to complement the feats and skills. Timestamps to those will be in the sections below in the pinned comment, and also regardless if you're a new or returning viewer, please let me know if there are difference of opinions on choices for creating this subclass or building this subclass, I should say, better in your opinion, and also if you would pick different choices in terms of role-playing what a Khorne butcher would look like. Now, before we get into the specific details of the character build, it's only right that we have a quick lore overview of the specific Total War Warhammer unit we are basing this build off of. We're building this as the Chosen of Khorne with dual weapons, and yes, side note for my Warhammer aficionados, yes, I know Khorne units technically use axes, chain axes, whatnot. However, the weapons used by the subclass are definitely right up Khorne's alley, with their jagged edges and bloody design. Those who are physically marked by the Blood God will have set themselves apart from their peers through the fellest of deeds, yet many will not have the mental fortitude to take on the gifts that come with being a Chosen of Khorne. Only the strongest avoid devolving into mindless, gibbering chaos spawn, instead becoming destined to grow free of their mortal shackles to gradually take on a more impressive form. Whatever the precise gifts bestowed, these mighty warriors are invariably filled with a mere portion of Khorne's rage, yet it drives them endlessly into combat like those possessed to reap skulls or die a glorious death. So yes, we're going to build this character like a Beserker, however with a few extra features like self-sustaining. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the first level of the build. Similar to our previous subclass of the Injector, we are going to be using Human, and I know it sounds very Billy Basic, but with the Variant Human mod, we do gain 3 different passives which will enhance our build even further. So there's a whole boatload of different passives we can choose from, and I know it seems overwhelming, but let's break it down simply. Specifically, we will be picking up Fast Hands, which grants us an additional bonus action, and simply put, action economy is such a huge thing, and being able to attack or perform different things all in one turn can really be a difference maker. Uncanny Dodge is going to add to our tanking potential. With lightning quick reflexes, we can protect ourselves, and when an attack hits us, we only take half the damage too. I know Khorne doesn't really emphasize tanking, that is more so Nurgle, but also because we're going to be diving headfirst into combat a lot, it's only right that we pick that up as well. The final race passive will be Resilient +1 to Strength, and yes, it is merely a +1, but this is going to be very convenient for us when we get to the abilities part here. When you pick the Surgeon class, you will have availability to different cantrips, and to keep in line with Khorne builds, I will be choosing Tendon Clip, mainly because it is somewhat of a range attack, but it has the usefulness of knocking creatures down, plus leaving them vulnerable for you or your other melee allies to close the distance and also have advantage on follow-up attacks with them. For the background, we're going to choose Soldier of Khorne, giving us skills in athletics and intimidation, very befitting of what a Khornate Berserker would look like. And for the ability output, because we get the Resilient +1 to Strength, we dump everything else into Strength, giving us 18, and thus an even +5 overall to it, assigning a +2 bonus to it as well. And also, we don't have to worry about 17 being the max amount that we can have at starting level. And yes, we will be taking points away from intelligence in order to buff our strength up. And yes, I know the mod author themselves specifically said Dex is the main combat ability for this class, but also in keeping in line with Khorne, we are going to be dumping a lot of points into strength. And also, the weapons that we will be using goes off of either strength or dex, so really just put whatever points you want into which. Constitution will be our second highest at 16 in order to max our health out as much as possible in the early game and reap the rewards of additional bonus health. Wisdom leave at 10. Charisma, yes, it is at 13, and it's gonna be uneven, but also it's going to overall give us a +3 to intimidation and also to perception too. Our other skill proficiencies will be athletics at a very solid +6, investigation +1, insight +2, and medicine +2. So overall, kind of trying to keep in line with what the surgeon class is kind of like, but then also adding a little bit of Khorne flavor to it as well. At second level, when we pick the subclass of the Cannibal, we'll have different class features such as Seasoned Surgeon, prowess with the knife speaks for itself, advantage on wisdom medicine checks, and also 2-weapon fighting. When you make an attack with your offhand weapon, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the attack with 2 actions here, Summon Tools Hack and Slash. You have determined the best course of action is to slice everything to ribbons, summon your bone saws, and feast. So these two will summon bone saws into each hand, pairing well with the subclass feature of 2-weapon fighting, and also really just leaning into the Berserker aspect of Khorne. I'm not gonna lie, I love the armor choices and equipment that I got here, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it's going to really all come together well. At third level, we gain Claim Your Scraps, don't let them go to waste, eat and replenish your vitality. This is the bite attack that I was talking about earlier. Subsequent attacks that sap blood will further reduce the target's max hit points. Blood sap, hit point maximum reduce, creature will die if its hit point max is reduced to 0. It is listed as a bonus action and it recharges once per turn, plus also it helps restore your health too. At 4th level, we gain Bedside Manner. Words drip like honey into the mouths of your patients. Advantage on Charisma Deception checks and Charisma Persuasion checks. With the feat ability here, we're going to choose Strength, put 2 points into that, maxing it out at 20, and also providing us a massive amount of damage output at the early game level. Yeah, that resilient point at starting level is really paying off for us in the long run, and also of course early game too. At level 5 we gain that extra attack feature. At level 6, we get another choice of a cantrip. Personally for me, I would pick Prep Warp to gain advantage on our next attack, and also being able to switch bonus actions to actual attack actions will pair well with this too. With our other specific actions, we gain trauma response for both our main and offhand. As an action and a bonus action, imbue a weapon to deal extra psychic damage per strike, lasts you until a long rest, and also, well, just overall extra damage regardless of where the source is very much in Khorne's favor too. Doesn't matter where the blood flows as long as the blood flows for our Lord Khorne. Speaking of blood, hemophilia, something stirs in the dark. It speaks to you when you are knee-deep in crimson. Your attacks have advantage when you are standing in blood. I'm also getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but this would definitely pair really well with the Bloodletter. As for the feat choice here, I would personally pick up Martial Adept, and yes, I am using a modded version of different feats. So with the modded version, the maneuvers don't cost any superiority die, but we can only use them once per turn. Yet they are still pretty useful too. With Martial Adept Riposte, when a hostile creature misses you with a melee attack, you may retaliate with a powerful strike that deals additional 1d8 damage, more damage output for the Blood God. Martial Adept Fainting Attack, use both your action and bonus action on a turn to attack a target with advantage and deal additional 1d8 damage. At level 9, we gain Self-Consume, 2d12 piercing damage. Nothing is off the menu. Indulge in your own flesh. Doing so unlocks the ability Unmaker until the end of your turn. With Unmaker, your hunger is endless, so too must be the pain suffered by others. It's essentially just additional damage. Sacrifice your own health for you to dish out more damage. It's essentially also a rage mechanic too. At level 10, we gain the class feature of Code Blue. Urgency to treat your patients is spoken through your swift feet, increase your movement speed by 3 meters, and we gain the action of the Flesh Chase. That is quite a name there. Leap after your patient. They still require treatment. Upon successfully landing on them, you knock your patient prone and requires Feeding Frenzy. They will remain prone for 1 turn, leaving them vulnerable to follow-up attacks from you. Level 11 is when we gain the quote-unquote spell or ability Terminal Rush. 2d6 slashing damage, rush your opponents with unyielding force, dealing damage and maiming everyone struck by the blow. And last but certainly not least, at level 12, for the feat choice here, I would personally pick up Savage Attacker. When making melee weapon attacks, roll your damage dice twice and use the highest result. This ensures that you will actually have that maximum damage output for each strike or attack that you do with your character. This is definitely going to be something that Khorne would approve of too, as he essentially would want his followers to give it their all, literally, in every swing and blow. Alright friends, this is going to be a lot of fun going through the different types of equipment and especially the weapons. Starting off with the headpiece here, Helldusk Helmet, Infernal Sight. You can see in magical and ordinary darkness up to a range of 12 meters and can't be blinded. Magical durability, wielder has a +2 bonus to saving throws against spells, very much in line with Khorne, as the Blood God absolutely hates all forms of magic. Attackers can't land critical hits on the wearer. This is essentially really massive here because of the fact that no one can land massive damage output against us, but we can still have that massive damage output too. And to top things off, we're given Immolating Gaze, 2d16 fire damage, sear and frighten the target with nothing but your glower for 3 turns. Also to complement our Khornate abilities, Flaming Shroud, a creature that damages the wearer within 2 meters receives burning, so this is kind of like a nice retaliatory attack alongside our riposte attacks as well with our bone saws. Main armor will be Pugilist Leathers, which we got from the extra equipment mod. It is only 10 armor class, however, the features here more than make up for it in my personal opinion. When an enemy damages the wearer gains Wrath for 2 turns, so we retaliate with Riposte, burn them, and also gain +1 damage to both of our melee weapons. Bull Strength. Gains Bull Strength and increase your Strength score by 2 to a maximum of 22. This will stack up with our maxed out Strength as well. Unwavering Bull. You cannot be pushed against your will, and you have advantage on saving throws against being restrained. This is really incredible here too, just because it means that our movement potential isn't cut in half. Speaking of movement, movement is increased by +3, armor class at a +2. For the gloves and also the boots here, our gloves will be bone spike gloves, exoskeletal reinforcement, attacks ignore resistance to slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning damage. So essentially this is kind of like an armor piercing mechanic from Total War Warhammer. Line breaker boots. Once per turn, when you dash, you gain Wrath for 2 turns. And like I said before, Wrath is a +1 bonus to melee weapons. This Wrath is going to also stack up with the Wrath from Grievous Retribution. As for our rings and amulet here, Amulet of Ball. On a hit, inflict bleeding upon targets that have max hit points. So essentially, keep flowing blood for our father Khorne. And this is essentially kind of incentivizing us to be aggressive as possible to make the first strike and be the first one to damage enemies before our party members. Killer's Sweetheart. When you kill a creature, your next attack roll will be a guaranteed critical hit. But also make sure that you utilize this or save this up well, as you can only refresh it after a long rest. Unwavering, ignore the effects of difficult terrain, cannot be paralyzed or restrained. Nothing will stop us in the way of our carnage. As for our 2 weapons here, Surgical to Hack and Slash, both doing 9 to 14 slashing damage. When the wielder attacks with advantage, the attack inflicts bleeding. And also we gain the other ability with our offhand weapon. Slice their ankles, they won't get away. Slice those oh so important extremities, leaving your victims maimed. Very brutal here too. And even though it is finesse, like I said before too, we are leaning into all of our strength for this one, friends. Alright friends, that has been my Khorne Cannibal subclass showcase for the Surgeon build. Let me know in the comments below, either from D&D or Warhammer friends, if you would choose different choices in leveling to keep in line with the roleplay of a Khorne warrior, or also min-maxing the damage output. Difference of opinions are very much welcome on the channel. I just love it whenever people go in depth with their strategies. And also, thank you for both the new and returning viewers for watching this all the way through if you've made it this far, and also for the new viewers, if you love talking shop about all things D&D, Warhammer, or Elder Scrolls, which I will do in the near future too. Remember to hit that like, subscribe, and bell icon notifications, and I'll save you a seat at the table for those adventures. Take care and farewell.